The whole world of project management is going through this, well, it's a massive revolution, really. The old rules, the ones that we've followed for decades, they're basically being torn up and rewritten as we speak. We're shifting from a world focused on simple constraints to one that's all about complex conscience.
Okay, let's dive into what's going on here. And look, this isn't just some theory from a textbook. The project management body of knowledge, the guide for the entire profession, is telling us that these huge, real-world pressures are fundamentally changing the game. Things like climate change, not having enough resources, and new tech like AI. They're not just background noise anymore. They are actively reshaping what a successful project even looks like.
For so long, project success was judged by what we called the iron triangle. Did you deliver on scope, on schedule, and on cost? It was this neat, tidy little box. But today, that's just a starting point. The modern focus is so much bigger. It's asking, did the project deliver actual long-term value? Did it align with the bigger strategy? And crucially, was it sustainable?
So what is this new benchmark we're talking about? It's value. And this definition is so important because it specifically includes non-financial benefits. It makes you step back and ask a way bigger question than just, did we build it right? It's asking, at the end of the day, was this whole thing really worth the effort and the expense?
To really get our heads around this difference between just, delivering a thing versus creating long-term value, we've got to look at one of the most famous and, let's be honest, infamous projects in modern history.
I mean, look at these numbers. By any traditional yardstick, the Sydney Opera House was a complete and utter disaster. It was supposed to cost 7 million Australian dollars and take 4 years. What actually happened? It blew out to $102 million and took a staggering 14 years to finish. A total failure of project management, right?
And yet, look at it now. It's a global icon, a landmark recognized all over the world, and it generates massive cultural and economic value. The project's outcome delivered this incredible, lasting value that just completely dwarfs its initial management failures. And this is the perfect illustration of that modern focus. We're moving from just managing the project to mastering the project's outcome.
So how do we define that outcome, that value? Well, it's not a one-size-fits-all kind of thing. Value means totally different things depending on who you ask. For the organization, yeah, it's probably about financial return. For customers, it's about whether it's useful. And for the community, it's about the impact on society and the environment. A modern project has to deliver for all three.
Okay, so if we have to think beyond just the money, how do we even begin to structure that thinking so it doesn't just become a total mess? Well, the most widely accepted answer is a framework called the triple bottom line.
The big idea here is that real project success now depends on finding a balance between 3 key pillars: social equity, how it impacts people, economic prosperity, which is your traditional profit, and environmental stewardship, its effect on the planet. You just can't maximize one at the expense of the others anymore. It doesn't work.
This all sounds great, but it leads to a really important practical question, doesn't it? It's one thing to say, oh, we care about the planet, but how do you actually prove it? How do you measure your environmental impact in a way that's credible, that's consistent, that's standardized?
You can't just make up your own rules for this. For real accountability, you've got to turn to international standards. And when we're talking about measuring and reporting greenhouse gas emissions, which is a major piece of the environmental impact puzzle, the key standard to know is ISO 14064.
Now, ISO 14064 isn't just one document. It's more like a family of standards. Part 1 gives you the rules for figuring out the entire carbon footprint of your whole organization. Part 2, and this is the one that's super important for us, it drills right down to the project level. It gives you the framework for measuring emissions from your specific project activities. And then Part 3 is all about getting someone else to check your work, to verify that your numbers are actually legit. So, what's the whole point? At its core, the standard is all about measuring this one simple thing, the release of a greenhouse gas into the atmosphere. It's about taking something that's invisible and kind of abstract and making it something you can actually measure, manage, and report on. Now, this is where it gets really interesting, because the standard makes you think way beyond your own 4 walls. It splits emissions into 2 different buckets. Direct emissions are what you'd probably expect, like the smokestack at your factory. But then you have indirect emissions. Those are the ones you cause somewhere else in your supply chain, or from shipping things, or even from your employees driving to work. It's a much more complete and honest way of looking at a project's total impact. Okay, so let's tie this all together.
The new logic for project management is this really clear, powerful progression. First, you lift your goal up from just simple delivery to creating long-lasting value. Second, you define that value through the lens of sustainability. That's your people, planet, and profit. And finally, you bring real discipline and accountability to that goal by using proven standards like ISO 14064 to actually measure what matters.
So, as we wrap this up, the final thought I want to leave you with is this. For your next project, don't just ask if you're on time and on budget. Ask yourself, are you creating genuine, sustainable value? Because in this new era of project management, that is the only metric that will truly define success.